In the world of cybersecurity, some tools are just tools, and then you have the legends. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on one of the biggest, most powerful of them all, the Metasploit Framework. It's a non-negotiable part of any ethical hacker's toolkit, and we're about to find out exactly why. But let's start with a question, right? It's a question that every single organization has to ask itself, probably every day. How on earth do you find the cracks in your own fortress before the bad guys do? It's a constant race, and if you want to win, you have to learn to think like the attacker. So here's our game plan. First, we'll break down what Metasploit actually is. Then we'll peek inside its digital toolkit. We'll walk through what a simulated attack looks like, talk about the critical ethical red line, and finally, look at what it really takes to be a pro who uses this thing the right way.
All right, let's get right into it. What exactly is Metasploit? The best way I've heard it described is as a sparring partner for your defenses. It's not there to actually knock you out. It's there to test you, find your weak spots, and ultimately make you way stronger.
Okay, so the official textbook definition is that the Metasploit framework is an open-source platform for testing and running exploit code. It was actually created way back in 2003 by a guy named H.D. Moore, and today it's maintained by the security company Rapid7. It has become, without a doubt, the industry standard for this kind of work.
But here's an even better way to think about it. It's like a flight simulator for cyber attacks. It lets security pros practice and run through real-world attack scenarios in a totally safe, controlled environment. You get to learn how to defend against these things without anyone getting hurt or any data getting stolen.
So if Metasploit is this pro toolkit, what's actually inside? Well, let's imagine it's like a master locksmith's kit, full of these specialized tools for every kind of digital lock you could possibly run into. First up, you've got the exploit. This is your skeleton key. It's a very specific piece of code, and it's built to take advantage of one single particular vulnerability, one specific crack in a system's armor. If that system has that flaw, well, this is the key that's going to fit that lock. But a key is pretty useless if you don't actually turn it, right? That's where the payload comes in. The payload is the code that runs after your exploit works. It's the message you deliver or the action you take once you're inside. It could be something as simple as just opening a command prompt to prove you made it in. And these payloads, they come in different flavors. You've got stagers, which are small and sneaky. They get a little foothold first and then call back for the rest of the code, which makes them harder to spot. And then you've got singles. These are the all-in-one packages. They're bigger, maybe a little louder, but they get the job done in one go. It's always a trade-off between being stealthy and being fast.
And the toolkit goes way deeper. There are auxiliary modules, which are basically for scouting out your target. You've got encoders, which help you camouflage your payloads from antivirus software. And then there are things called NOPs. Think of them like packing peanuts. They just fill space to make sure your code runs smoothly without getting jumbled up.
Okay, so let's see how all these tools actually come together in a real simulation. This is really the heart of an ethical hacker's mission. Find a way in, not to do damage, but to show exactly where the defenses need to be beefed up. The whole process is super methodical. It always starts with reconnaissance, just mapping out the territory. Then, based on what you find, you pick the right exploit, the right key for that specific lock. You tell it exactly what to target, and then you launch the test. And the command center for all of this, it's an interactive terminal called the MSF console. This is where the security pro drives everything. They're using specific commands to load up modules, set their targets, and launch their tests. Everything is precise, it's controlled, and it is all logged. Now, here's a really crucial point. Just getting in the door is almost never the end of the test. The real question is, what can an attacker do next? This is where post-exploitation comes in. Can they get higher-level control? Can they move sideways to other computers on the network? Can they actually get sensitive data out? Answering those questions is how you measure the real risk. Okay, so with all this talk of power, we have to pivot to maybe the most important part of this whole thing. The strict, non-negotiable rules of engagement. This is the ethical red line that separates a security professional from a criminal. Which brings us to the number one rule. It is so simple and it is so absolute. Permission is everything. Without explicit written permission to test a system, you are not an ethical hacker. You are breaking the law. There is absolutely no gray area here. Let's break that down into 3 core rules that every single pro lives by. First, like we just said, get that written permission. Second, define the scope. You have to know exactly which systems you're allowed to test and, just as important, which ones are totally off limits. And third, document everything, every single action. Those detailed logs are your proof that you're a professional, and they're your legal protection.
And let's be crystal clear about the consequences here. Unauthorized access is a serious crime. Period. It doesn't matter if your intent was, oh, I was just looking or I was just trying to help. In the eyes of the law, if you don't have permission, your intent doesn't matter at all. So this brings us to a really vital point. Becoming a cybersecurity pro isn't just about learning how to use a cool tool like Metasploit. It's about developing a really deep understanding of how things work and having an unwavering ethical compass.
The path to really mastering this stuff involves a few key things. You have to master the fundamentals, how networks and operating systems actually tick. You have to practice constantly, but only in safe, contained lab environments. This field changes every single day, so you have to stay current. And yeah, professional certifications can definitely help validate your skills.
This quote just nails it. Tools alone don't make you a pro. It's understanding the why behind the how and having that unbreakable commitment to doing things ethically. Those are the true markers of a real expert.
So, at the end of the day, Metasploit is this incredible instrument. In the hands of a skilled and ethical professional, it's used to find weaknesses, to strengthen defenses, and ultimately to build a safer, more secure digital world for all of us.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. The tools? They're always going to change. They'll get faster, smarter, more powerful. But those fundamental ethical principles, permission, scope, responsibility, those things are timeless. Or are they? That's a question we're thinking about.